Let's say you pick up a new small SPS frag, like this Montipora, and you ask yourself, how long until this becomes a mini colony? 3 months? 6 months? A year? The purpose of this video is to show you several SPS growth progression examples to serve as a benchmark for you. I am an average hobbyist with average gear, and I think average growth. So as you watch this video, if you find that your growth for certain species of corals is slower than what I demonstrate, you may want to review your methods. Now, if your growth is superior to what I'm achieving, please comment below, as I would love to learn more about your reefing approach. Welcome back to the channel, my friends. As usual, please like and subscribe if you have not subscribed yet. It really does help me out. But let's get into it. First up is the Greg Carroll's Acropora. Now this coral is a moderate grower, I would say. I've achieved pretty decent success over the course of 7 months. Considering it's actually quite a girthy or stubby or thick branching coral, it does grow considerably well. In fact, I think I'm about a month or two away before being able to classify this coral as a mini colony. This piece is getting high par and high flow in my tank and seems to really enjoy that. Now next up is Greg Carroll's Ultimate Efflow. In 7 months' time, this coral has experienced moderate growth, I would say. The plug is completely covered. Incrustation is significant. You know, it's on the rockwork now. It's beginning to branch out. This coral is actually a tabling Acropora. Well, probably more appropriately, it's like a plating Acropora. So I'm excited to see where this one goes over the next 3 to 6 months. But it seems to be pretty happy over on this ledge. And beyond its growth, it's still showing pretty good or original coloration. So I know it's pretty happy where it's at. Now next up is one of my favorite corals, the ORA pearlberry. In 7 months' time, growth has been actually kind of slow. If you have any tips or experience with this particular coral, please comment below. So although the growth has been less than ideal, the tissue is still thick and healthy in appearance. I would also say the color is not as good as when it came in. But, color seems to come in parallel to growth, so I'm going to stay patient. I think the ORA pearlberry is a really impressive coral as it grows into a colony once it reaches that size. So I'm just going to keep being patient and hope this coral just starts to take off and branch eventually. All right, next up is the ORA red planet. This coral is actually fast growing and quite hardy. And as you can see, I've recently fragged the original piece I received with the hope of inspiring this coral to start branching. So the red planet is known to encrust for some time. By fragging it, I'm just trying to encourage a little bit more upward growth, so time will tell if that actually works or not. This is actually taking prime real estate in my tank, so it has me a little frustrated that I have this coral that's prime real estate, middle of the tank, that looks like an encrusting Montipora. So hopefully things start branching out soon. Okay, next up is an encrusting Montipora. These corals are fast growing, as you can see. In 7 months' time, it's really taken off. If you have encrusting Montiporas in your tank and you're not seeing very fast growth, I would suggest you take inventory of your gear, of your reefing approach, of your water quality, and see what may be going on. So my guess is in about 3 or 4 more months' time, I'm going to actually regret having this coral in the tank, as it will likely start taking up too much real estate and impact other nearby corals. All right, next up, another classic, the Garf bonsai. This coral, moderate grower in my experience. It does like to also encrust a fair amount. But unlike the red planet, it will actually branch and encrust at the same time typically, or it has in my experience. This piece is actually getting a lot of flow in my tank, very high light. And the flow is what I attribute to kind of being the it factor for the coral showing such good polyp extension. It really shows off that green pop of coloration against the purple. Okay, next up is the Walt Disney. Typically this is a slow grower. Early on, I was actually fairly happy with the growth rate of this particular frag, but in February, my tank showed signs of white bugs, which required 3 rounds of treatment and instability. So during treatment, the coral seemed to be most impacted. No death or anything, no STN, but growth really just slowed down during that experience. So, it was about 4 to 6 weeks there. But I'm hoping as the tank stabilizes now, that growth will pick back up with this coral. Okay, next up is the ORA Hotkins. This coral is a moderate grower, and I would say my growth has been maybe a little bit slower than expected. It may be because this coral is kind of off to the side. It's getting a little less light, a little less flow. But overall, though, I'm fairly happy with this piece. It looks healthy. It's showing pretty good color, albeit it's a little washed out due to my video quality. And I've had some algae issues, I think, that may have impacted this coral's ability to encrust on the rockwork, slowing it down some. But outside of that, I think it's doing pretty well. I just gotta keep being patient. Okay, next up is the Battle Corals Blue Sniper. This coral is actually a fast grower and very hardy. Almost bulletproof, I would say. If you want a purple or bluish coral, but something that actually grows at a good rate, I think this is a great choice. I have this coral pretty high up, which actually may become a problem, being that it's growing so fast, growing faster than all my other corals, and will eventually start to shade them, right? So certainly the coloration isn't as amazing as an Oregon blue tort, but it will give you some coloration that's similar to what you get from a Cali tort. So I think it's a really, really nice piece. Alright, next up we have a Sunrise Montipora. Again, with this being a Montipora, you should be getting very fast growth. This particular piece seems to like to encrust quite a bit actually before it starts to plate out. And you can see where it looks like I have some vermitids that have ruined the look and growth pattern of this piece. And I might attempt to snip those guys off and glue over them. But we'll kind of just let this piece do its thing and see what happens. And I always love having a couple plating Montipora type corals in my tanks, even though they do kind of have a tendency to take over. Next up is the Jason Fox Flame. I have achieved moderate growth over the course of 7 months. In fact, I think this coral would have grown even more, but it experienced an STN phase for about 3 to 4 weeks, about the same time I was treating the tank for white bugs. I think the instability just caused a little bit of trouble for this coral. It's hard to say. But it's turning around now. I think all its energy is being used to recover and grow back over the areas where it STN'd. If it hadn't had STN'd, it'd probably have a little bit more branching going on than what is being shown here. Alright, next up is my Paletti yellow tip. Again, my camera work seems to have washed out the yellow tips, but I can assure you they are there in person. This coral has been a moderate grower over 7 months, so it's done a great job. However, I'm not too fond of the growth pattern, and I may start fragging this coral a little bit to shape it to my liking. It's off to the side of my tank, getting lower flow, which may be why the branching isn't as tight, as my other corals. And I'm already regretting placing this next to the green slimer. These are 2 fast-growing corals, likely to be touching very, very soon. Well, last up is the green slimer. If you are not achieving dramatic growth, which growth you could almost observe, every few days, then take a closer look at your gear, at your water quality, at your flow, at your lighting. You may have something that you need to tweak. This is a very fast-growing coral, and you should see growth literally every few days. Well, my fellow reefers, I hope going through these several SPS growth examples has been helpful to you as you seek to measure how well your tank is doing and what is realistic. Thanks so much for tuning in and for your patience with my voice as I've tried to recover from a recent illness. Take care, guys. Happy reefing. See you on the next one. Peace.